My wife and I have never had problems in our intimate life. If something was wrong, my wife and I always shared our experiences, and I always thought that everything was fine with us. However, my suspicions grew when she began to come home more cheerful and do things in bed that I hadn't seen before. It sowed a seed of doubt in me about her loyalty.
8 months ago, our son Jonathan left for school, leaving Jennifer and me alone at the age of 45. We were proud of his scholarship to Oxford University and saw it as an opportunity to revive our relationship and start a new stage of life without children. We anticipated that our sex life would immediately improve, returning to the frequency and enjoyment of our earlier years. However, during the initial 2 months, Jennifer experienced a bit of melancholy as our baby boy ventured into independence. Additionally, turning 46 brought about some new facial wrinkles and a few extra pounds, which, in my eyes, only enhanced her beauty. Yet, she seemed to feel that life was slipping away and that her years of excitement were behind her. Research indicated that these feelings were common during this transition. In response, I provided positive reinforcement, numerous compliments, and allowed her time to adjust to our altered family dynamic. After a few months, a positive change occurred. One Friday evening, Jennifer came home from work exuberant and reminiscent of the woman I married 20 years ago. Brimming with smiles, she seemed like a new person, and we spent the weekend in bed making up for lost time, free from the responsibilities that had consumed us for so many years. Before I even had a chance to undress, Jennifer swiftly knelt down and eagerly removed my pants and underwear. This was a surprising turn of events, as Jennifer typically wasn't enthusiastic about oral sex. However, that night, she took my member into her mouth, providing an intense and prolonged experience until I climaxed. Astonishingly, she swallowed, a first for her. Subsequently, she guided me onto the bed and revealed her naked, shaved genitals by removing her dress, another unexpected revelation. I found myself exhilarated and ready for more as I positioned myself between her legs, bringing her to a powerful orgasm. It seemed like years of excitement had built up, evident in the deafening scream she released when she climaxed. Despite the novelty, the experience was thrilling, and I wasted no time. After her screams subsided, I penetrated her wet entrance, engaging in an intense 5-minute session that culminated in mutual satisfaction. Exhausted, we collapsed into each other's arms. The weekend that followed was dominated by our newfound passion, reaching heights we had never experienced before in our sexual relationship. The next morning, as I woke up with Jennifer nestled against me, she greeted me with a smile and remarked, "Good morning, sexy. Last night was incredible. What came over you? Whatever it was, I hope it continues." "I love you, baby," were the only words she uttered before passionately arousing me. Once again, we shared an intimate moment before heading downstairs for breakfast. For the first time in years, I sensed a rejuvenation in our sexual connection, signaling the beginning of a new chapter in our lives. Little did I know at the time, but I later discovered that the source of her heightened desire wasn't me. It was a colleague from her workplace who had sparked her libido. Over the past 6 weeks, he had taken a keen interest in Jennifer, showering her with compliments and flirting that rekindled some of her youthful exuberance and confidence. While it undoubtedly enhanced our intimate life, it also led to unforeseen challenges in the months that followed. 3 months later, our life was thriving, financially secure in jobs we enjoyed, Jonathan excelling at school, and our bond stronger than ever. Over the past 3 months, our intimate life remained vibrant, and we felt closer. The source of her newfound passion remained a mystery, but I savored every moment. Daily oral pleasures, satisfying nights of intimacy, and relishing in pleasuring her shaved pussy became our routine. It felt like pure bliss, and I was content, knowing I fulfilled all her desires. I relished feeling like a skilled lover, operating at this heightened level of passion. Friday nights had become our customary date nights. Following our work week, we'd attend an early movie and dinner, then rush home to make love until we drifted into a peaceful sleep. This ritual served to maintain a life beyond the confines of our home. We both cherished these moments, attempting to recapture the spirit of our youth and inject some excitement into our lives. Despite our age, we were outpacing our friends in terms of frequency of intimacy, and I made an effort to keep the spark alive. On a particular Friday night, she suggested grabbing a drink after dinner. Playfully squeezing my leg, she shot me a flirtatious look with a mischievous smile, promising to make it worth my while. She had heard about a new club called The Hideaway from her coworkers and wanted to check it out. It was just a 10-minute drive away. The Hideaway turned out to be an enjoyable spot with live jazz music. We indulged in a couple of drinks at the bar, and Jennifer's affectionate and amorous demeanor intensified. I reveled in her vibrant energy, eagerly anticipating our time in bed. Her sensuality had me in a heightened state, and that's when I felt her hand caressing my aroused member through my pants. She grinned and gently kissed my lips, continuing to caress me, edging me closer to climax. However, she halted the intimate moment, opting to tease me by nibbling on my earlobe and whispering suggestive remarks. The desire to take her right there in the bar overwhelmed me, but our public display ceased when the band stopped playing. With the band on a break, I sipped my third martini, and an unfamiliar man approached us. In a booming baritone, he exclaimed, "Jennifer, is that you? You look incredible tonight." My surprised expression mirrored my wife's transition from a smile to concern. She swiftly introduced us. "Hello, Brandon. So nice to see you. This is my husband, Charlie." As he hugged her, a pang of jealousy swept over me, sensing something amiss despite lacking concrete evidence. Brandon, appearing to be in his early 40s with charm and a Barry White-like voice, engaged us in conversation. Despite initial apprehension, I began to relax after a few more drinks, considering the possibility that his arrival was coincidental. After 20 minutes, the jazz band resumed playing. However, things took a turn when Brandon asked if he could take my wife for a dance. She stood up, declaring, "Of course he doesn't mind. Do you, honey?" Before leading him to the dance floor without awaiting my response. I was infuriated, realizing it was a setup. Despite contemplating leaving her there and driving home after 3 slow dances, I opted to stay and observe how the situation unfolded. As I observed, several things bothered me, such as how Brandon held my wife a bit too intimately. It unsettled me to see her resting her head on his shoulder with her arms around his neck and him whispering in her ear. My intuition rang alarm bells, confirming that trouble was brewing. Upon their return, they acted as if everything was normal, and Brandon effortlessly transitioned into a new conversation, as if slow dancing with my wife was a regular occurrence. Brandon showered my wife with compliments, emphasizing how much she assisted him at work. When he inquired about my hobbies and interests, Jennifer swiftly spoke up on my behalf, almost as if it had been rehearsed. "Charlie loves watching football, and he's the biggest Manchester fan. He never misses a game on the TV," she volunteered. "Is that so, Charlie? Tomorrow there's a playoff game. Are you planning to watch it?" Brandon asked. "Yes, my friend Jake and I never miss a game, and will be at the pub enjoying their win over Liverpool," I responded. "Well, Charlie, today is your lucky day. I happen to have 2 tickets to the game, given to me by one of my suppliers. Since I'm not a football fan, I was thinking of giving them away." He produced an envelope and presented me with 2 tickets labeled Tier 1 Center Field. These seats were exceptional and nearly impossible to obtain, yet there they were. I immediately grasped the situation. He resembled the serpent in the Garden of Eden, offering Eve the apple and encouraging her to take a bite. I replied with a touch of playfulness, "Those are fantastic tickets. You should go and enjoy the game." "Not my cup of tea, old chap. Look, I won't be using them, so I'd like you to have them and enjoy the game. I mean, since you're Jennifer's husband, I'd be honored for you to take them." My anger flared. I comprehended the manipulation but accepted the tickets. If he referred to me as old chap or old man once more, I felt like tearing his throat out. Calmly, I said, "Thanks, Brandon. That's generous of you. I'm sure Jennifer and I will enjoy the game." Anticipating my wife's response, I was not surprised when she spoke up. "Oh, darling, I dislike attending those games. You should go with Jake. You both would enjoy it more than I would. Don't worry about me. I have plenty to do. It's settled. You'll go with Jake tomorrow." I questioned the extent of their relationship at this point, whether she had already been with him or was considering opening our marriage. Regardless, it was evident she desired him, and I felt relegated to the sidelines. She seemed oblivious to my determination and strategy as I decided to observe how things unfolded. Though my evidence was limited to intuition, observations on the dance floor, and the orchestrated bar scenario, I chose to let events unfold and make plans accordingly. Sharing my wife was out of the question, no matter the allure of playoff tickets or financial gain. If she wished to engage with someone else, she was free to do so, but I would not participate, and her destiny would be sealed. I realized Brandon's true nature. He presented himself as a sophisticated man, handsome with a captivating voice. Despite his appearance of being fun-loving, intelligent, and successful, qualities that would attract any woman in her 40s, the issue was that he targeted married women, including the one he was currently seducing. Brandon thrived on the thrill of seducing married women and relished in turning their husbands into cuckolded individuals. This behavior gave him a sense of power, boosted his ego, and provided him with uncomplicated, commitment-free sexual encounters. I saw through his facade and recognized him for what he truly was: pure evil. Jennifer, unaware of my silent observation, was in high spirits from the drinks and her time with Brandon. Oblivious to my lack of conversation since leaving the bar, she was eager for intimacy when we got home. However, still upset, I feigned a headache, attributing it to the excess of drinks. Pretending to fall asleep, I sensed her presence beside me, pleasuring herself with her fingers, fueled by the excitement of the evening. Jake and I attended the playoff game, but I wasn't naive. Prior to leaving home, I strategically positioned 2 voice-activated recorders acquired that morning and activated the Find Me application on her phone while she showered. Anticipating they would have time to spend together or discuss the previous night's events at the bar, I was surprised to find that she didn't leave during my absence, and the planted devices yielded no interesting recordings. Despite this, my suspicions persisted, and I remained on high alert. Upon returning from the game, Jennifer greeted me dressed nicely with a delicious dinner ready. After a warm kiss and hug, she guided me into the kitchen. "How was the game, darling? Did our team win?" "Yes, Manchester won 3-1. Baby, you must be thrilled to have seen the game from such excellent seats. Brandon was so kind." "Yes, extremely kind, and the seats were fantastic." Jennifer appeared content and smiled throughout the evening. Unfortunately, from that point forward, I continuously heard about Brandon at work, their shared lunches, his success, lakeside cottage, travels, and his overall niceness. My patience wore thin. Then, one night, she returned home excited and happy, showering me with more hugs and kisses than usual. That was a pleasant welcome. "What's happening?" "You won't believe it, but you remember how I always talked about La Traviata at the opera?" "Yeah, you've mentioned it many times. Why?" "Well, there's a show at the Royal Opera House this Friday." "Jennifer, you know I can't stand the opera. Are you suggesting we go?" "No, not at all. The good news is, I got a surprise today. I had lunch with Brandon, and he mentioned he got excellent tickets for La Traviata from another supplier, similar to the ones he gave you for the football playoff game. He knew I wanted to see it, so he offered them to me. When he found out you weren't a fan, he suggested taking me to the opera and then out for dinner. Isn't that thoughtful?" "Very generous." "What a thoughtful guy," I replied sarcastically. "But you declined, of course." "Well, no. Why would I say no? I know you're not interested, and it's not a big deal. I assume you're okay with me going with Brandon." "It is a big deal. The issue is, You shouldn't go on a date with another man, whether I'm here or not. That's not what a wife does. Frankly, I'm surprised you'd even entertain the idea of accepting a date, I said, aware that this was all premeditated. Oh, I didn't see it as a date. I'm sorry if you misunderstood. Brandon is our friend. He gave you those amazing playoff tickets, and you had a great time. He covered our drinks and has been a good colleague for me at work. I thought you'd understand. Smirking to myself, I decided to let her elaborate and see where this conversation would lead. Well, yes, he did all that, and he seems nice, but I'm not comfortable with my wife going out with another man. I'd rather you not go or make any rash decisions. However, you're an adult and can decide for yourself. You know what I prefer, though. She must have sensed my frustration and dissatisfaction. Okay, sweetheart. There's no need to worry. I get it. I didn't intend to upset you, and I'll let it go now. I apologize if I've hurt your feelings. My emotions are fine. I'm more concerned about my wife. She approached me and planted a kiss on my forehead. Don't stress, my dear. I love you, and it was never going to be a romantic outing. Quit being jealous, and let's move on from this topic. Although we moved on, the incident lingered in my mind. When she sought intimacy later that night, I claimed a headache, still upset from our earlier conversation. I wasn't certain whether she had been physically involved with him, but she was unknowingly entering into an affair. If I didn't intervene, serious trouble could lie ahead, especially if they had already been intimate. The situation with Brandon was escalating, and I expressed my discomfort about hearing about him frequently. I asked her to stop having lunch with him, but she resisted. Charlie, I turned down the opera tickets as you requested, but you're being unreasonable. I won't stop being his friend, and if that involves occasional lunches, you'll have to be more understanding. Though angered, I needed to find a solution without further damaging our marriage. Subsequently, their interactions expanded to post-work drinks. When I confronted her about a potential affair, she insisted it was platonic and that she simply enjoyed his company. So, you're not interested in Brandon? Don't lie to me, Jennifer. Well, every girl at the office finds him attractive, honey, but I'm committed and haven't crossed any boundaries. But you're tempted, aren't you? What girl wouldn't be? I mean, he's incredibly good-looking, and that voice is captivating, but you have nothing to worry about. I don't have to worry? How would you feel if I were going to lunch and after-work drinks with a girl I'd love to be intimate with? I have a feeling you wouldn't be so understanding. That conversation didn't go well, and things at home got a bit chilly for a few days. She was angry at the idea of me being with another woman and made it clear it was not an option. She even mentioned cutting off my balls if I ever cheated. I thought she was being irrational and sensed that our future as a married couple was at risk. Then it happened. One night, she came home 3 hours late without calling, leaving me worried. She entered as if everything was normal, leaning in for a kiss, as if nothing was wrong. To her surprise, I pushed her away and, with a stern gaze, uttered a harsh sentence that conveyed my dissatisfaction. Nice of you to finally come home. Were you with your friend tonight? My wife had never heard me speak to her like that. She immediately apologized, explaining that her phone had died and she lost track of time, promising it wouldn't happen again. Were you with Brandon? Jennifer avoided eye contact and remained silent. Frustrated, I expressed my discontent, making it clear that our marriage was in jeopardy if her behavior continued. Jennifer, let me make this crystal clear. If I discover any intimate involvement with him, our relationship is over. I won't tolerate adultery or deceit. Her demeanor shifted, and she assured me of her fidelity, apologizing and promising to cease her actions. For the first time, it seemed, she grasped the gravity of my ultimatum. While she stopped discussing him, she continued meeting him for lunch and drinks without informing me. After 2 weeks, during dinner, I confronted her about whether she had stopped these encounters with Brandon. Attempting to placate me, she touched my arm and admitted she was still seeing him, but chose not to disclose it to spare my feelings. To my astonishment, She seemed oblivious to the hurt and anger her confession stirred. What she said next left me dumbfounded, as no reasonable person would tolerate it. "Baby, you know I love you, and Brandon is just a friend. He asked me to accompany him to his company dinner since his date canceled, and I agreed. I told him you'd be fine with it." I shook my head in disbelief, rejecting the idea. "No, I'm not okay with it. Jennifer, you're still my wife. For now, at least. Charlie, don't be a jealous fool. He's our friend, and he needs my support. I'm going, and you'll have to trust me. I promise. Everything will be okay." Jealous fool? Damn it, Jennifer, has this guy turned you against me? Now you're calling me the jealous fool? Jennifer, if you decide to go, I assure you that things between us will not be okay. I won't be able to handle it, and our relationship will suffer. While I can't physically prevent you from going, my answer is a firm no, you cannot go. That night, and in the following week, our intimacy dwindled. My frustration and anger over the Brandon situation made it difficult for me to engage in meaningful conversation with Jennifer. Despite my distant demeanor, she seemed to grasp the gravity of the situation and refrained from pressuring me about Brandon and the planned date. The day after Jennifer's confession, I received a call from Brandon at work. Jennifer had given him my number in the hope that he could convince me to change my mind. I anticipated a challenging conversation with Jennifer later that evening. "Charlie, my man, how's it going?" "Brandon, what a surprise. What brings you to call me?" I inquired, curious about his intentions. "I called to apologize. I understand that Jennifer told you I asked her to accompany me to a company event. It was a mistake, and I'm sorry if it caused any issues at home." It was indeed surprising, and I made my feelings clear to her. She informed me about it. "You see, my mistake was not reaching out to you first and seeking your permission. I should have handled it man to man and not put Jennifer in that position." I sat there in disbelief. The audacity of this guy was staggering. Hearing his self-assured, almost mesmerizing voice felt surreal and only fueled my frustration. "Well, old man, let me make it up to you and treat you to whatever you desire. I can arrange season tickets to Manchester, if that's to your liking." "Brandon, are you suggesting I exchange my wife for football tickets? Are you attempting to degrade my wife to a mere commodity, trading companionship for merchandise? Do you hold such a low opinion of her? Look, you've misunderstood me. I don't share my wife with anyone, and if you refer to me as old man or old chap one more time, I swear I'll silence you the next time we meet. I'm perfectly capable of purchasing my own tickets. Let's put this behind us, shall we? I insist that you leave Jennifer alone and seek companionship elsewhere," I retorted, my anger evident in my voice. It seemed like he paid no heed to my words and continued, "Charlie, my friend, I apologize if you feel that way because I genuinely like Jennifer and wanted to seek your approval for her to accompany me to my event. Please don't be upset with Jennifer. This is on me. So, would you reconsider allowing her to be my date for that one night?" "Brandon, listen carefully. No, stop asking. She will not go with you, and that's final. In fact, I want you to cease having lunch with her and meeting her for drinks after work. It's starting to affect our marriage, and I'm sure you can understand my perspective. Charlie, I'm sorry you feel that way, but we're just friends, and I have no intention of ending our friendship because of your insecurities. I'm sorry you won't grant me this small favor, considering all I've done for you, including those fantastic football tickets and the offer of season tickets. It seems like you don't appreciate my generosity. I've already expressed my gratitude for the tickets, and as I mentioned earlier, I can handle purchasing my own football tickets. Please leave me alone and refrain from interfering in my marriage," I asserted, angrily hanging up the office phone. That evening, I returned home to find Jennifer subdued, clearly aware of the conversation with Brandon. Eventually, unable to endure the silence any longer, she spoke up. "I heard about your talk with Brandon today. Did you have to be so harsh? You hurt his feelings." The incredulous look I gave her in response to her question could have frozen a pond in the middle of summer. Forget about his feelings. It's curious how you're concerned about his emotions rather than your husband's. And why did you give him my work phone number? Do you need to be with him that badly? Maybe I should just leave, and then you can be with your new boyfriend. She lowered her gaze and admitted, I was hoping you two could become better friends, so we could all go out together. I'm sorry it turned out this way. I never wanted anyone to be hurt. Are you serious? I want nothing to do with him, and I made it clear for him to stop taking you out. In case you forgot, you're a married woman. Act like one, or this will end badly. I assure you. My words angered her, and she retorted, Stop acting like a jealous teenager. We've been married for 20 years and nothing is going to happen. I hope you're right. I'd hate to think I've wasted my last 20 years with the wrong woman. That comment seemed to shake her, and I hoped she would come to her senses. The rest of the night passed in silence, and there was still no intimacy. Frustrated by her actions and comments, I started sleeping in our son's room. Jennifer was upset about my decision and attempted to make amends over the next few weeks. She mentioned that she had stopped meeting Brandon for lunch and was making an effort to be a more affectionate wife. Gradually, I returned to sleeping in our bed, but I was still not comfortable with being intimate with a woman who clearly had feelings for another man. She wasn't satisfied with this and attempted several times to initiate intimacy. I had a gut feeling that she was still seeing Brandon, and my instincts told me to be vigilant if I wanted to salvage our marriage. Unfortunately, I stumbled upon the date of Brandon's event while going through my wife's text messages on her cell phone. We didn't have passcodes on our phones, and I had never snooped before, so there was no need for secrecy. Reading about her plans saddened me because I knew our relationship was about to undergo a significant change. However, this new information also made my planning easier. To no surprise, her recent efforts to be a loving wife were just a ploy to win me back and divert my attention from the Brandon situation. What I discovered indicated that my cunning wife planned to reveal to me that she was attending the event with Brandon the following Thursday night. This prompted me to consider if she would follow through with it or remain faithful, despite my explicit forbidding. The next morning during breakfast, I informed her that I had a meeting on the 22nd in London and wouldn't be home until late the next evening. Knowing that Brandon's event was on the same date, I presented her with the opportunity to either deceive me and attend the event or come clean about her plans. Regardless, I had made up my mind to not stick around. If she confessed and attended the party, I would move out and file for separation. If she went without informing me, then our marriage was over. Regrettably, she maintained her silence and didn't disclose her plans to me. Despite appearing affectionate and fulfilling the role of the perfect wife, she continued deceiving me. Each night, I enjoyed splendid dinners, returned to a spotless home, and received loving kisses upon returning from work, yet there was no mention of Brandon or the upcoming event. On Thursday morning, I bid her farewell, sensing it would be the last time, and headed to my office. Though I had no intention of going to London, I planned to spend the night in the same hotel hosting the event. During this period, I consulted with a solicitor and initiated the paperwork for a divorce, including setting a potential date for serving the papers. I even offered to pay double the usual fee for the process server to accompany me at the hotel and deliver the papers upon my approval. If she followed through with what I suspected, our relationship was undoubtedly over. Seated in the lobby, I wore a subtle disguise consisting of a virus medical mask, tinted glasses, and a ball cap. Engrossed in a newspaper, I had a clear view of the front doors. As anticipated, at 8 p.m., Brandon entered the hotel accompanied by my lovely wife. She was dressed in a little black dress, dark stockings, and high heels, her revealing attire suggesting a lack of a bra for the occasion. They exchanged cheerful greetings with others, giving off the impression of a happy couple. Although I expected their appearance, witnessing their intimate relationship was not something I was prepared for. Despite the surge of anger, I managed to capture the scene on my cell phone. I intended to share this evidence with my son to explain the impending divorce. Observing Jennifer with Brandon, I called her phone, witnessing her glance at it before sending the call to voicemail. The dismissal of my call, with her attention returning to Brandon, felt like someone had torn my heart out of my chest. Years of love and dedication seemed to vanish in an instant. Though my eyes welled up with tears, I somehow restrained them and left several messages in a desperate attempt to salvage what remained of our relationship. "Hi, it's 8 p.m. I hope everything's okay since your phone went to voicemail. I love and miss you so much." I clung to the hope that she would hear the messages, feel some remorse, and choose to leave the party before things escalated. There was still a chance for her to call and confess, saving what little was left between us. That night, she completely ignored the voicemails. I lingered around the dining area, observing them discreetly from a distance. It was evident that she was more intimately connected with him than she admitted, as they displayed couple-like behavior throughout dinner. Taking precautions to stay out of sight, I noticed that by around 10 p.m., after numerous dances and some kissing, they were preparing to leave the dinner party. Having obtained the room number from a text and paying the bellman 100 quid, I knew he was staying at the hotel in room 1246. At exactly 10 p.m., Kim, the process server, arrived, and we discussed my plans. Gratefully, I handed her an additional 200 quid for her assistance. By 11 p.m., Kim and I were in the elevator heading towards room 1246. She knocked on the door, and as I positioned myself beside the peephole, we heard movement inside. A deep voice questioned, "Who is it?" Kim held her ID up to the peephole, stating, "Security, please open the door." Although he didn't seem to inspect the ID, it worked, and we heard the door slide open. It revealed Brandon's face, and before he could react, I stepped in front of Kim, forcefully kicking the door open. Brandon stumbled backward, landing on the floor in a state of shock and undressed. A female gasp emanated from the room as he rolled in front of Jennifer. Her gasp turned into a piercing scream when she saw me standing there, completely exposed. It was apparent from the white fluid running down her legs that she had just been intimate. As Brandon lay unclothed on the floor, I pressed my foot against his neck, applying the full force of my 200-pound weight. I warned him not to make any movements. Signaling to Kim, she approached Jennifer, handing her the divorce documents. Kim informed her that she had been served, capturing a photo of Jennifer in a state of shock, holding the envelope while standing bare. Expressing my discontent, I removed my wedding ring and tossed it towards a damp spot on the bed. Witnessing my anguish, Jennifer finally comprehended the consequences of her decisions. Suddenly, she desired reconciliation with me, not her boyfriend, but it was too little, too late. "Charlie, I apologize. I've made a significant error, and I don't want to lose you. I understand this looks terrible, but you know I love you, and I don't want a divorce. Please allow me to return home with you. I'll explain everything and set things right. Please don't do this." In disbelief, I shook my head and observed the woman before me. For the first time, I noticed her age and lack of fitness. Seeing her standing there undressed, with evidence of Brandon's actions, was repulsive. Any emotions I had for her vanished. The love I harbored for years had transformed into contempt and disgust, marking the final act of our marriage. Hovering over Brandon with my foot still on his neck, I instructed Kim to leave me alone with the unfaithful pair. As the door closed, I addressed my wife with the tone of a desperate and enraged man. "Congratulations, you've shattered my heart and brought our 2-decade-long relationship to an end. Your actions have left me devastated, especially considering the deceit and betrayal involved. You not only lied to me, but also engaged in a reprehensible act with someone else. As a result, our time together has come to an abrupt conclusion. Please sign the divorce papers and refrain from returning home until Saturday afternoon. I'll need a day to gather my belongings from the house. You can stay in our apartment until it is sold. a process that hopefully won't take too long. In the meantime, perhaps you can find accommodation with the person involved in this situation," I stated, lifting my boot from his throat and forcefully bringing it down on his exposed genitals. I struck once more to ensure a proper connection, leaving the room and my now ex-wife behind, hearing the audible cries of pain as I exited for the last time. Brandon suffered the loss of both testicles when he was forcefully pushed to the ground. Despite his attempt to press charges, I warned Jennifer that if she testified on behalf of the perpetrator, I would reveal her affair and share the incriminating photos with her family. She wisely chose not to recognize the man responsible for Brandon's injuries when talking to the police. This decision infuriated Brandon, who felt betrayed by the woman who had taken from me. After persistent attempts to communicate with me for 2 months, Jennifer reluctantly agreed to sign the divorce papers. Realizing that our marriage was beyond repair, she eventually shared the full story with our son, taking responsibility for the demise of our once happy years together. We sold our flat, divided the proceeds, and went our separate ways. Brandon, still recovering, distanced himself from Jennifer, now a single woman, instructing her to move on and find someone new. At 46, divorced and carrying extra weight, she found it challenging to attract suitors, contrary to her previous beliefs. After dedicating 6 months to the gym, I shed excess weight, got in shape, and encountered Patricia, a charming 37-year-old divorced woman with a 9-year-old daughter. Patricia, appreciating loyalty and love, treated me exceptionally well, and her daughter, Melissa, and I formed a close bond. At Jonathan's graduation, Jennifer, now 50, appeared her age and found herself single, lonely, and dissatisfied with the turn her life had taken. Jonathan conveyed her unhappiness upon seeing me with my new family, making her envious and sorrowful as she witnessed my happiness with my attractive wife and delightful daughter. Jennifer expressed deep remorse to our son about her actions and mistreatment towards me. She struggled to forgive herself for succumbing to the advances of that unpleasant person. She confided in Jonathan, acknowledging that losing my love helped her realize the value of what she had given up and how much she missed her previous life. All the pain and loss stemmed from her selfish desires. Conversely, my life took a positive turn within a year of finalizing the divorce. Patricia, having experienced the pain of infidelity in her previous marriage, vowed never to repeat that betrayal. We remained married and faithful for the next 30 years, relishing the joys brought by Melissa and Jonathan's 3 grandchildren. Brandon never contacted us after his injuries. Jennifer, grappling with regret, chose not to remarry and spent the next 2 decades as a solitary elderly woman, unable to forgive herself for betraying our marriage and dismantling her once happy life. Jonathan, on the other hand, married a wonderful woman, expanding our family with another grandchild. He forged strong connections with my new family. I only encountered Jennifer at Jonathan's events and, sadly, at her funeral.
That's the end of the story. Write your opinion in the comments about this story. It will be interesting for us to read it. Also, do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel so as not to miss new, equally interesting and exciting stories. Good luck!